Hello and welcome back to Niche Tea, where we talk about drama happening in communities you may not be a part of. This episode's a little janky because I'm obviously not in my house. I'm in New York for a few days. The next episodes will be about the Freitas Moon thing and the Watcher thing, but in the midst of that, remembered that I still was waiting to cover the Lobstertok thing, so I want to do that now quickly. Also, side note, this top I wore in another video in yellow, like a yellow-green, and people asked me where it was from, and I said Yitty, and that was wrong. It's from Aerie. They have it in a million colors. I love it so much. Please go get it. It's fantastic. Last time we talked about the updates to Pokemon Go's avatars, which have a number of problems and people are generally just very not happy with. And as I said, today we're going to talk about the Lobstertok situation. So when we say Lobstertok, I think we're pretty much all thinking of the same guy, and that's Jacob Knowles. This is actually more comfortable. I think I've literally trained my body to want to be in this position. Jacob got really popular a few years back because he would show videos of him doing his work on his lobster boat. His family has been doing this for 5 generations, so he has a lot of experience in the field, and he was really personable on camera and taught us a lot of very cool things about lobsters. Which ones are able to be hunted, which ones aren't, how to identify different types, stuff like that. Informational stuff like that is very popular on TikTok, so it's not surprising that it went over very well. It's also worth acknowledging he is very good on camera. He also became particularly well known for cutting barnacles off of lobsters that he was gonna throw back for one reason or another and giving them a snack, which is very cute. Since getting big, and because what he does is pretty specialized, he has millions of subscribers, and until now, I have not heard of anything problematic relating to him. So, what happened? A few weeks back, one of the members of Jacob's crew named Keith Porter posted a video saying that he ended up quitting working for Jacob. He goes on to say that he'd worked for Jacob for years and that the reason he quit is because he, Keith, is the person who initially got all of the TikTok stuff up and going for Jacob. He claims he had to convince Jacob to get on TikTok in the first place, and that it was Keith's idea for like all the different bits of what they would do, and Keith was the one filming, etc. And so for all of these years, he's been a very integral part of the whole TikTok phenomenon that has been Jacob Knowles. Keith claims that in the beginning things were fine and Jacob was good about giving him credit for his contributions in getting the TikTok up and running and things along those lines. But that as time went on, Jacob started just doing interviews and stuff where he would take sole credit as just representing this whole brand that he has now. And most specifically, once the channel got monetized and started making money, Keith was given very, very little of that money, reportedly, that was being made by Jacob through that channel. Keith claims specifically that the first month that they were able to be monetized, the channel made $20,000 and Keith was given a $600 bonus. People were obviously very sad and upset by this and disappointed in Jacob. Like, we like you a lot. Why would you treat someone who is a 50-50 partner, it sounds like this? So Jacob had a lot of comments flooding on his Instagram as well as his TikToks, and he didn't address it for a good amount of time. When he did address it, it was by posting a very, very high production video. I was kind of surprised, actually, talking about where he came from and his history and things that he's done up until now. The video doesn't directly address like, oh, Keith said this and this is the real situation, or this is why XYZ, but indirectly, it very clearly says, this is my business and Keith was my employee. So yes, Keith may have helped me with this, but this TikTok is related to my brand and my business, and all of the money goes into the business. I pay Keith a salary and I gave him a bonus because this was such a great idea, but I'm not going to be, it's implied, he doesn't say this, I'm not going to be splitting things with him down the middle as though we're two independent people. And since then, Jacob has basically just kept it pushing and continued to make his own content. This is a hard one for me because I will say, as much as I think it sucks for Keith, it is at least a semi-valid point from Jacob. When you are an employee of an organization, if you do something to boost that organization, you don't necessarily get an equal share of what that benefit is for the company. For example, my company that I'm aware of is not on TikTok. And if they came to me and said, hey, Caroline, you're on TikTok, can you help us get on TikTok? And I said, okay. And I gave them all the ideas, filmed all the stuff for them, did everything. And they just, even if I starred in it, literally if I did the whole thing, I am not guaranteed or entitled to any of the revenue that comes from that TikTok channel. And if they choose to give me a bonus, give me a raise or something as a reflection of my contribution toward the efforts of the company, then cool. And if they don't have to. I don't have to be happy about it for sure. And I can quit just like Keith did for sure. But if I came to them and said, you guys made $20,000, I expect $10,000 of that, it would be almost a laughable thing to ask. I get caught on it though in this situation for two reasons. One, any situation where I'm leaning toward the side of an organization or company, corporate entity, I feel like I need to step back because usually they're not in the right. And I don't feel like employees are treated as well as they should be generally. For example, at the very least, I feel like giving him a raise or something more consistent, if he was going to be consistently contributing to this extra source of revenue, probably would have been warranted in this case. Or potentially a negotiation of a flat percentage of profits that he will always get. I just don't think it would have been 50%. And the other reason I hesitate is because the size of the corporation, I think, matters, right? When you're talking about a boat that has a specific number of crew versus a literal corporate entity, like my company has like thousands and thousands of people that work for it, one person's contribution has far more impact and weight. So I don't think it's out of line to expect more from your contributions in that type of environment. I will say from a response standpoint that Jacob's video was probably one of the best you could have made, given that he wasn't going to say, yeah, everyone's right, and give Keith the money. He doesn't come off as accusatory. He gives more information about where he's coming from. He addresses it without addressing it, and he's very non-confrontational about the whole thing. It's pretty good. Obviously, it's not going to be satisfactory for people who think he really should be giving more money to Keith, but since he's not going to give more money to Keith, there's really no way you're going to salvage that. Those are going to be people you lose. For Keith's part, he's been very strongly encouraged to start creating this type of content himself, and he has started to do that. His account is currently still much smaller than Jacob's is, so I'd encourage you to go give him a follow if this is the type of stuff that you like to watch. The very, very cynical part of me cannot help but laugh at the idea that in a couple of months, if Keith does get very big, that he might find himself in a similar situation as to what Jacob was in, though. So I guess we'll see.